And happy Wednesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by See-Through Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractor Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys for sponsoring our video. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have a chance for hail, mostly in New Mexico. We could see some hail in parts of far western Texas as well, and then we have some scattered areas of wind that we will be tracking across the northern parts of the country. So we'll talk about that. And then we're really going to start continuing to heat up across most of the country, so we'll get into a bit more detail on that as well. And then we have our first named tropical system of this season, so we'll talk about Alberto and the effects of this storm as well. So here are our current conditions across the lower 48. We do have a cold front stretch basically from Wisconsin down into Oklahoma. It looks like it's stalled out a bit here in parts of southeastern Iowa into northwestern Missouri, southeastern Kansas. So we could see some scattered storm development along and ahead of these fronts as we go through this afternoon and evening. And then we have a few other areas to watch for severe weather as well. So let's zoom on into where we have some precipitation going from the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma into parts of central and southern Kansas up into parts of Missouri and Iowa. So again, along and ahead of this front, we could see some storms firing up there, especially on the northern part of that front. And then we do have Tropical Storm Alberto. Even though the center is not even close to the United States, we do have plenty of moisture wrapping around the center, and that rain is continuing to fall here in southern Texas. We do have a tropical storm watch out as well through Thursday. And then getting up into the northeast, just like the last few days, just a few scattered showers and storms are popping up here in parts of New York and, basically up to almost Maine. So zooming on now, taking a look at our temperatures. Once again, you can see it where that front is situated. It's only 70 in Kansas City right now, but you go eastward, Fort Wayne, you're at 89 and more 80s along the east coast, all the way down to the south and into Oklahoma, down into Texas, where we have more 80s and a lot cooler as you get behind that front. In terms of our dew points, once again, very sticky out there. If you're in the central part of the U.S. eastward, we got 65-degree dew point in St. Louis, 68 in Wichita, and then we got 70s or higher for dew points basically all along the southern Gulf Coast. So a bit uncomfortable if you walk outside if you're in those areas. So in terms of our watches and warnings, we do continue to have those heat advisories and heat warnings out in the eastern part of the country, as well as, again, that tropical storm warning down in Texas. So basically Maine down to Pennsylvania, Ohio, parts of West Virginia, all the way up to my home state of Michigan. We do have those heat advisories and heat warnings out. And then once again, we have some flood warnings out, or flood watches, I should say. And then we have that tropical storm warning out through Thursday. So let's take a look at our future radar. Right now, we have that rain going on in parts of Kansas and into the panhandles of Texas and Oklahoma. And a few storms may try to fire up here over the next few hours, especially in the eastern part of New Mexico. You can see basically Albuquerque eastward. I think for the most part that severe threat should stay east of Albuquerque, and it'll be Santa Fe down south. So you can see this model is trying to pop off some isolated storms here, and then as we go through the rest of the evening, those storms will start to push off to the east and may become more of a wind threat. You can see those bowing segments there. And then as we go through the rest of the evening into tonight, we start to lose the intensity of those storms, and then by tomorrow morning, just a few showers here and there will be around. And then moving up north along and ahead of that front, some storms are expected to fire up here. For the most part, I think this should be a wind threat and not a hail threat. We will see what happens. But as we go through the rest of this afternoon, you can see those individual storms trying to fire up here and Milwaukee down to Davenport. This will be the area that we will be watching for the most part. And then as we continue through this evening, they will continue to push off to the east, but then start to die off a bit as we lose that heating of the day. But we may see some redevelopment along and ahead of that front in the overnight hours and then getting into tomorrow morning. So again, it should be a wind threat, but some small hail can't be ruled out with those. And then getting into the northeast, just like we've been seeing the last few days, very spotty activity may try to fire up here, just with the really high temperatures and all that fun stuff. So just summertime things here and there, just popping up, nothing too crazy. So basically, once again, from Michigan all the way up to Maine, just a very scattered storm activity is possible as we go through the rest of today and then into tonight, as well as early tomorrow morning. So here is our hail forecast for today. So for right now, it's basically most of New Mexico, maybe far western Texas and the Panhandle, Texas as well. I think the majority of the activity is going to stay away from those populated areas, but we cannot rule out some large hail, a low chance, however, in Amarillo as well as in Santa Fe, New Mexico. In terms of our wind, we do have some more areas besides this to take a look at. So here we go for the wind forecast. So again, Santa Fe, eastward to Amarillo, and everywhere in between, we could see some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour there. And then along ahead of that front, we could see some gusty winds up to 60 miles per hour in cities such as Davenport, up to Milwaukee, and down just to the east of Kansas City. We can see those gusty winds. And then just some spotty here and there 60 mile per hour gusts with those stronger storms here in the northeast. Again, it should be a very isolated, so just a few storms, but any storm that does develop, we can see, a gusty, wind up to 60 or 2. So that's for the wind. And then, of course, I had to add the tornado one in here for today because of Tropical Storm Alberto. We do have basically, with that spin in the atmosphere from Alberto, we could get a few tornadoes from this. So low end chance to see a tornado from Houston to San Antonio, south to Corpus Christi, in the McAllen-Brownsville area. And again, that's associated with Alberto. So besides all that, another big thing that we've been talking about is the heat, and it's going to continue to stick around for the next few days. So the jet streams all the way up into Canada. We got this heat dome here in basically the middle and the eastern part of the country, and it's just going to continue to build here as we go through the next few days. So if you're not a fan of the heat, I'm sorry in advance. It's not really going anywhere for the rest of the week as well as into the weekend. However, as we get into our Saturday, you can see a little bit of a shortwave trough trying to cut its way off from the main jet stream. So we may need to keep an eye on that as we get into our weekend, but it's still a bit far out. So just something to keep in mind. Hopefully that can bring at least some relief up into the northern part of the country. So here we go. Here are our temperatures over the next few days. We're going to continue to heat up here in basically the eastern half of the country. As we get into tomorrow, temperatures will start to continue to warm up into the 90s, and then getting up into nearing 100 even in St. Louis, getting up into the mid 90s there as we get into Friday. And then unfortunately it just continues to build here and I mean, yeah, 99 potentially in St. Louis on Saturday. But it's just going to continue to build up here. We can even get into the low hundreds here in Oklahoma City on our Sunday. And yeah, hopefully we can get some relief from that trough as we get into the beginning of next week. But I mean, for now, it's just going to be a hot one. I mean, summer, I believe, starts tomorrow afternoon anyway, so it's right on time. So now let's talk about Tropical Storm Alberto. Right now, he's still chilling out in the Gulf of Mexico. As we get into this evening, he should be making landfall in Mexico. So again, no threat to land for here in the United States, but we will be dealing with the rain in southern Texas. So we'll be making landfall again this evening, and we'll continue to push off to the west as we get into tomorrow. And in terms of, once again, those, the winds with this, we do have a bit of I mean, it's nothing substantial, but we do have a tropical storm warning out for parts of the southern coast of Texas through Thursday for wind gusts between 35 and 45 miles per hour. So we could see some scattered outages, but in terms of, really strong winds, it's not going to be too crazy. So that's a good thing. But the one thing that we will be dealing with from Alberto that may be more of a concern is all the rain that's falling. So here's the future radar over the next few days. That rain is just going to continue to fall here as Alberto pushes into Mexico over the next 24 to 48 hours. So Houston all the way to Corpus Christi, Brownsville, San Antonio, expect a lot of rain from the system as it pushes off to the west. And it starts to look a little bit better tomorrow, but we will still have some scattered storms here and there from Alberto. And as we get into the rest of Thursday evening, again, just some scattered storms here and there. And then as we get into Friday, we start to dry out a bit. So again, the bulk of that moisture will be today, as well as, getting into tomorrow, although tomorrow doesn't look as crazy as it does right now. So over the next few days, lots of rain across southern parts of Texas, stopping it at noon tomorrow. We will already be up to almost 3.5 inches of rain in San Antonio, 3.5 inches in Eagle Pass, Fort Stockton, barely, anything, but, that will be changing. As we get into Friday, those totals will be nearing 4 inches in San Antonio, around 4 inches in Eagle Pass, a little over 1/2 inch in Fort Stockton, as well as in Houston, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, around 2 inches. And then as we get into our Friday and into Saturday, things should start to dry out a little bit as some of these totals aren't really changing a whole lot. So lots of rain here across southern Texas. So if you're going anywhere, just make sure you have some alternate routes in mind in case you come across some flooded roads. And then we still have that system out in the Atlantic that we will be watching for any development. It still has only a 10% chance of development over the next 2 days and only a 20% chance over the next 7. So again, a low-end chance, but it's not zero, so we'll keep an eye on that for you. And if anything else becomes, named, the next name on the list will be Beryl. So we do have Alberto checked off. So Beryl will be next, and then Chris and Debbie, and they can see all the other names here for the tropical cyclones in the Atlantic. Pacific Ocean, you guys have, of course, a different set of names. So these are just, again, the ones for the Atlantic season. So that's all I have for you now. Make sure that you follow us on X or Twitter, whatever the heck you want to call it, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, as well as our TikTok page. Make sure you hit see first on our Facebook page so you don't miss any of our live videos. If you want to learn more about us, you can scan that QR code above and you can get set up with a demo. And if you have any questions or concerns, you can call us at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com and check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Wednesday.